Hello there. This time we are expanding upon the magic in Dragon Ball, which is basically the definition of a soft magic system with very vague rules and lore behind it. Last video, we established that the core people and Supreme Kais are specially good at using magic, although we didn't get too much into it. In this occasion, we will be expanding upon the mechanics of magic in Dragon Ball, and how it compares with the key power system. So without further ado, let's start. Even though Akira Toriyama most likely didn't thought too much about the mechanics behind magic, we must not forget that it has been really present since the very beginning of the story. Even the name of the franchise is based on a magical dragon, so expanding upon it seems only logical. With that being said, one of the very few things we know about it is that magic is completely distinct from ki. Another thing, it hasn't been confirmed, but seems to be the case that anyone can potentially learn how to use magic, although it likely requires a different set of skills to learn than ki. Also, magic seems to be used primarily for supportive techniques, and its users also seem to be very adept in the use of mental abilities as well. Let's start expanding upon magic right away, by establishing that the main difference between both power systems is that ki users mainly use the power within them, while magic users utilizes the power from external forces. With external forces we mainly refer to the power/energy that flows through the reality itself. In other words, the same energies of creation from the universal tree that gives form to the cosmos, which explains why the core people are specially good at using magic. A simpler name for this external power is Genki. In terms of functionality, what makes magic different than ki? Well, it really comes down to what they are better suited for. The ki of a fighter is not just composed of raw energy, but also their own willpower and emotions, making it much more effective for enhancing their own individual power. In the other hand, since magic controls an external power, or Genki, as we name it, it is much more suited at manipulating outside forces. Although it is important to clarify that ki can also be used to control external forces, but it is much effective when it involves someone else's ki than just manipulate a neutral Genki. I will explain this with some examples later in the video. In the other hand, using magic to use external energies to enhance the user's body is possible too, although not as effectively as using their own ki. Before giving actual examples, let me shortly explain an important thing regarding ki and Genki. As we mentioned earlier, ki is composed of raw vital energy, and also the willpower and emotions of the being. While on the other hand, Genki is the raw energy that flows through the reality, including worlds, stars, and even the raw energy, or Genki of other living beings. The other thing I wanted to expand upon is another very vague power in Dragon Ball. I'm referring to mental power, or just psychic abilities in general. In the story, psychic abilities are used for both ki and magic users, although it seems to be much more practiced by sorcerers. With that in consideration, let's establish that the mind of the user can be enhanced by either ki or magic. Also, the mind is the fundamental tool necessary to manipulate any kind of power. Without it, the user can't use it to control anything, which explains why psychic powers are present in both ki and magic. For both ki and magic users, how much they need to enhance their minds depends on the complexity of their techniques. For example, firing an energy blast is a simple application of power, while something such as stopping time require a very powerful mind. Now, the reason why psychic abilities are often used by sorcerers is because magical techniques are usually complex, so magic users enhance their mind power by using Genki to be able to execute their abilities properly. Now let's finally give some examples comparing ki and magic techniques. Starting with the instant transmission technique, which is a ki-based ability, and as we know, it is limited by the user needing to sense the ki of the target. Then we have the magic version of teleportation, the Kai. In this case, the user is not limited by sensing the ki of a target. Instead, they can teleport to any place without that limiting factor. With this example we can see how magic can be much more effective than ki under certain conditions, such as not having to rely on any ki energy. Is it possible to create a ki technique with the same effects as the magical ability Kai? I would say yes, but it would require a lot more energy and expertise to accomplish in comparison to what is needed by just using magic instead. Other examples would be key abilities that control time, such as time stop or time skip, used by Guldo and Hit, respectively. Both abilities are very strong and complex, explaining why no many key users can do this, but their effects are quite limited. For instance, despite Hit's incredible high power, he can only skip time for barely a second, which also depends on how powerful is the key of their target. In case of Guldo, despite not being too powerful relatively speaking, his focus in increasing his mental power helps quite a lot at increasing the effectiveness of his time stop. Now, a magic user capable of controlling time could potentially have much less limiting factors than a key user. For instance, they could stop time in any place, regardless of any existing key signatures. It is even possible to travel time, as we can see with the rings of the Supreme Kais. There are other examples, such as magic capabilities to create complex things, such as materializing objects with ease, or even forming life and planets, such as the Supreme Kais do. In the case of the Mafuba, also known as evil containment waves, we can only assume it is a key-based technique. If I had to differentiate the advantages of using either key or magic, I would say that the former is better at sealing a target that possesses key, while magic can pretty much seal everything, such as objects. Psychic powers, which includes techniques as telekinesis and telepathy, can be accomplished by both key and magic powers, but using either don't present major differences, since the effectiveness and power of mind techniques depends on the mastery and amount of energy used to enhance the user's mind, independently of the source. There is one technique that could be considered a mix of both magic and key, and it also could be used as a precedent that can partially explain the extraordinary power of the angels. I am talking about the Genkidama, also known as the Spirit Bomb. This technique is an interesting one, since it is used by a character that predominantly use only key techniques, but since it borrows Genki energy from other living beings, and the surroundings, such as planets, the sun, and so on, the Genkidama technically could be considered a very basic usage of magic. Now, canonically, the Spirit Bomb is most likely a key-based technique, but let's establish that the Genkidama combine both key and magic Genki energies in complete harmony. To properly form the Spirit Bomb, it is necessary to have a highly focused and tranquil state of mind, since any major misstep can make the Spirit Bomb to backfire before it is properly finished. This state of mind shares a similar premise of the Ultra Instinct, which brings me to my next point. The Angel's godly key is perfectly merged with the Genki energies flowing through the cosmos. Now, this is not definitive, but I think it could work very well, since angels are not just extremely powerful, but also, they have incredible control over reality, as we can see with their manipulation over time. In other words, the angels can perfectly combine both godly key and magic energies, allowing them to have perfect control over their own powers, and any external force at the same time. Now, characters such as the Supreme Kai and Majin Buu can use both key and magic, but only as a separated set of powers. There is also Moro, specifically after absorbing Meru's. We see how he can't control the power of an angel, which could perfectly fit with our vision of angelic power, since it shows that Moro is incapable of having a proper control over this advanced power, to the point he starts merging with the cosmos itself, in his case, with planet Earth. So having a state of mind akin to the Ultra Instinct is necessary to be able to perfectly combine both the user's key and the external Genki energies. Otherwise, the user would be destroyed, or even end up being assimilated by the universe. At least, this is how I would explain the angel powers, but I may expand more upon it in a future video. For now, let's do a summary of this whole video. Number 1. Magic power is the usage of external energies, also known as Genki. It can be from many sources, but usually, from the universe itself. Number 2. Magic is better suited for techniques that don't involve ki, such as warping reality itself, including controlling aspects of it, such as space and time. Number 3. Ki is better at enhancing abilities and increasing power. Number 4. The state and power of the mind is a fundamental tool for the utilization of both ki or magic. Number 5. Magic can be used to increase users' power as well, but is not as potent as ki. In the other hand, ki can also be used to create similar effects as magic techniques, but it is less effective, usually limited by key signatures. Number 6. Key and magic powers can be merged as one, but to handle this advanced power without negative effects, the user require a nigh-perfect control over their own mind. That should be about it regarding the magic system in Dragon Ball, although there are still other things very closely related to magic in the story which we could expand upon more, such as all the different Dragon Balls, or the predominance of magic for demons. I have a few ideas for the latter, but for now, just establishing the fundamentals of the magic system will prove very useful for future videos. Talking about that, next video will be about the special powers of the gods of destruction, the angels, and the supreme Kais, and then finally we can comfortably start exploring the tournament of power teams. Alright, that should be it for the video. If you enjoyed it, please consider giving a like and subscribing to my channel, and if you prefer not to, I still appreciate you watching the video. With that being said, I hope you have great days to come, and see you again soon. Smiley face.